kind of want to go over this project, which is a turn-based roguelike RPG. And so I'm gonna kind of, there's a lot that I've like put into this. This is easily one of the harder things I've had to create event-wise. So I'm gonna just kind of play it, talk about it while I play it, and then I'll show you guys sort of behind the scenes, like some finer, well, behind the scenes. This is not a Hollywood movie. I'll show you all kind of what all is involved in it, all this extra, all this eventing that I had to do. This is with no scripting, at least up until this point. So basically, you're going to spawn here. You're going to pick one of the 3 intro characters that I've created, and then it's going to take you into one of these 4 floors. It's going to be random which one it chooses. Your goal is to get the key to this teleporter. It's an item called the red orb. So you're going to get the key to that teleporter. You're going to go to the teleporter, fight the boss, and then it's going to teleport you to another floor, completely random. And as of right now, the enemies scale up with you. They don't scale up very harshly. I would say they stay pretty much the same difficulty, maybe even weaker as you go on, which is something I'll have to adjust in the future. But let's go ahead and get into the playtest, and you all can kind of see what this is like. Start a new game here. So we have Tamron the Sorceress, we have Clinic the Dark Knight, and Oswin the Ranger. So you can choose between any of these 3. They all have at least 2 starting skills, with the exception of Tamron, who has 3 because she has Fire, Ice, and Thunder, or Fire, Blizzard, and Thunder, something like that. So we're just going to choose Oswin. I like Oswin a lot. His weapons, his stronger weapons, multi-hit. So I really enjoy that. Right, what started us here, which is rough. I actually don't think I'm going to make this one of the early random floors. I actually think I'm going to make this like a mandatory floor 5, and because it's a big area. But these chests will spawn in random places, and as far as my tiny brain can tell, it is truly random. I do believe I've done the math correctly, and it is truly random. So I think we just found the red orb. Yes, we do have the red orb. We picked up a minor magic vial to recover our MP. So the chests right now are weighted to give you items 2/3 of the time, and a weapon for one of the starting characters 1/3 of the time. We got minor magic vial there. We're taking damage from the poison, which is fine. I'd like to get a health vial. We've got only magic vials, so that's not a great start. These are random enemy encounters. I guess we can go ahead and do one of these. So Oswin's skills are Fancy Footwork, which gives you Nimble. Nimble increases your agility and evasion. It's a buff that lasts for 3 turns. And then Barrage, which hits 3 times at 55% normal strength. So you're essentially getting like, 1.5 times the damage that you would otherwise. Let's just attack the goblin here. Right now, the fights feel mostly balanced. There's a few things I want to adjust, but everything seems okay. Let's go ahead and use Fancy Footwork here. Kind of like right there, that gnome should be taking way more damage than that, so we'll have to look at that. We actually may not beat this boss fight. There are only 4 chests total. One of them is the red orb, and we're kind of weak already, so I don't think we're gonna be able to beat this boss, but we'll give it a shot anyways. Well, we could just skip and go to the next floor, but we'll try it. I don't think I have enough health to last, which I should probably start the player off with, maybe a basic set of healing items just in case something like this happens. There we go. Fancy Footwork came in clutch right there. All right, we're gonna give Barrage a try. Yeah, I didn't think we were gonna get it. All right, so when you die, this is actually a good way to showcase this. When you die, it's just gonna take you back to the start. This guy doesn't do anything. He's just something I was testing for. So it did not work out with Oswin. Let's give Tamron a try. I like Tamron a lot as well. And see, as you can kind of see here, it has now spawned us in the Ice Palace floor. So let's run around and grab some of this. This is all randomized loot as well, by the way. So like we got a magma sword that's not necessarily for Tamron, but as you go on, this is just a very incredibly basic form. As you go on, you'll get access to more characters. You'll come across puzzle rooms, challenge rooms, stuff like that. So this is just very bare bones right now. I wanted to get the random event spawner in place first to make sure that that's already set up. All right, so we got the red orb already. That's looking good, looking good. Let's go ahead and grab this. We got a glacier sword, which still does not help us. We've got, oh, I'm using control to kind of go through walls and make this a little bit faster while I show it off. Got a health vial. That's actually pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and challenge the boss here. With Tamarin, the boss should be fairly easy. Where did I see the teleporter? It's hiding somewhere. I actually genuinely don't know where it is. It's not up here where its original spawn is. It's got to be in a tile that is kind of hidden that we can't see, which I'll have to adjust that as well. Let's just kind of skate the edges of the map here to see if it maybe spawned around there. I'm gonna guess it spawned behind something. I actually had a run earlier where it spawned behind this crystal and I couldn't see it. It took me a second to find it, but I don't think that's the case here. My guess is there is a glitch in the event spawner. Something's not working correctly and it spawned it outside of the map. Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense. I wouldn't think that that would happen, but I'm looking at all the tiles that are you know, an upper layer and kind of checking those out, and I don't see anything. Let's go ahead and turn reset events on real quick. There we go. And that might shuffle things around. There we go. Yeah, there's the teleporter. I'm not sure where it spawned. I'll have to look at my region tags, which is what it goes by, to see if it's spawning somewhere it's not supposed to. There's also several, I say several, there's a few bugs right now with it that I'll go over once we get done. I just kind of want to show this off a little bit. Okay, let's go to the teleporter. No, did we? I don't think we got any weapons for Tamarin, no. So let's go ahead and fight the Guardian. Hit him with the thunder. This thing's vaguely weak to thunder. I don't know why I said vaguely. Slightly weak to thunder. So we're just going to spam thunder. Tamarin also has an intrinsic MP regeneration because that's what her class is based around, is just using MP. So she gets 10% MP back every turn. This thing should be just about dead. There we go. All right, the Guardian Crow is down. Tamarin's going to level up, and then it's going to teleport us to another floor. Okay, chest here. See if any spawned up here. One here, which was the red orb, so that's what we need to get out. That's good. That's good. Another one here. Minor magic vial. I was really hoping for a staff, a better staff. We haven't got one. All right, let's go ahead and fight the Guardian again, which we have some health vials, and that's good. Just spam the crap out of thunder here. As you can see, thunder's doing a little bit more now that we've leveled up, but it also has, this enemy also has either 5 or 10% more HP because we are on the second floor, or this is our, you know, second map. There we go. All right, Tamarin's level 4 now. We've respawned. This is actually one of the glitches. For some reason, the red orb chest specifically does not reset correctly, so that's a glitch I need to look at. Let's go ahead and grab it. We got a bow, which we needed last run, not this run. Another bow. RNG is not on our side. And that's something we can look at in the future too, trying to weight it towards the character that you are, but we'll kind of see how that goes. There might be other ways to do that, like having the ability to access a shop at some point every few floors. Go ahead and use these health files to heal up. Fight the Guardian once more. We're just going to keep spamming thunder. Lightning and the thunder. And as you can kind of see, even though we're leveling up, this thing's still doing a decent amount of damage to us because its attack is also increasing as we get further and further into the dungeon, or as we, you know, go through more and more floors. Tamarin's level 5 now. It put us back in the mine shaft again. So let's go ahead and grab the red orb chest. And this time we're going to use skip. I put a skip option in there for playtesting. So let's just skip this fight. And then it puts us in the Ice Palace. Okay, so let's grab this. We got a minor health vial. There's the red orb. Minor magic vial. Was that 4 chests? Did one maybe spawn down here? Yeah, there is definitely a bug because something keeps spawning in a place that I can't see. So I need to look at the region tags and figure out where exactly it's spawning at. Let's go ahead and grab a couple of red orbs so we can just teleport through different floors. Let's just skip. Oh, and it put us back here. See if we can find the teleporter. See, like, this is a little bit hidden, but there must be some place where it's completely hidden. This. Now we're back in the mine. And it'll basically choose randomly one of these 4 maps, and it'll just teleport you there. The enemy spawns will change as you get further and further through each, like, you know, as you go through each floor, the further you get, the enemy spawns will change, the chests will reset, the loot will get better, but the enemies will also get stronger as the loot gets better. My plan is to add challenge floors, puzzle floors, stuff like that. But as a concept, this actually works pretty well. What I've dubbed the random event spawner. This was done entirely through eventing, no scripting at all. Entirely through eventing. I did 2 versions of this. Let's go ahead and close this out, because I would think by now you understand the basic concept. So I did 2 versions of this. The first version that I tried did use some scripting here, and then there was actually another large chunk somewhere, but there were several issues that I ran into with this event spawner. Once the issues kind of started piling up, I thought to myself, well, I kind of want to do this without the scripting. I want to show that this can be done without using any scripting at all, because I know some people really shy away from that. They're not a big fan of the plugins, and I understand that. So as an overview for this project, I wanted something that uses the basic RTP, and the biggest thing that drew me to this particular design of a roguelike RPG, roguelike turn-based RPG, I guess, is the sample maps are a very interesting feature in the engine, and I wanted something to do with those. And as I was looking through them, I'm like thinking to myself, what can I do with these? Because a lot of them don't really, there's an oasis, village. It's like a house and a tent. There's only really, like one map that has that area, maybe 2. So I thought to myself, what can I do with all these sample maps that would make for an interesting project? Each sample map is a different floor, roguelike RPG. Also, I wanted a project that I could point to and say to people who are new, why should I use RPG Maker, or what can RPG Maker do? I want to point to this and say it can do everything that you see in here. No programming knowledge required. We get into this thing, or I see this, like, I would say like borderline toxicity for the RTP assets. And it's like, yeah, guys, nobody's using RTP assets for a commercial project, obviously. But actually, in my opinion, I think the RTP assets are awesome for somebody who is brand new to RPG Maker, has always wanted to make a game, doesn't know where to start. This is such an excellent starting package to me. There's so much here, in my opinion. And those are just the sprites. I mean, it comes with animations, it comes with pre-made armors and weapons, which you don't have to use, obviously. But it comes with so much pre-made to help guide people on how to use it. I think that the RTP is fantastic, even though it's memed on in like an insane amount in the community. Let's go over the event spawner. I added a bunch of comments here to help me kind of explain this, but I've only done mostly comments on this section because it gets so confusing. I haven't added all the comments here or here, but we're going to go through it step by step to so I can kind of give somewhat of a broad overview of how this works. So when you talk to one of the characters and you choose them, it's going to remove this little spirit that you are from the party and add that character to the party. So now you are that character. After it does that, it's going to go to the common event, choose random map. And under choose random map, it's going to pick a number from 1 to 4. If the number is 1, it's going to pick another random number from 1 to 5. And then depending on that number, it's going to spawn them in a random place on the map that it chose for the first random number. So let me give an example. If it chooses, this number, if it chooses the random number as 3, random number 3 takes you to the ice cave. So it has decided at this point that it has chosen ice cave. Now what it does is chooses another random number from 1 to 5, and based on which number it chooses, it spawns you in a different place in the ice cave. Pretty good so far. I'm getting mega hungry, but I'm waiting on Zaxby's delivery. I'm ashamed to admit this. I've never had Zaxby's. The closest one to me is like 3-ish towns over, but I hear it's pretty good. Now, after it chooses the random map and the random spawn location for your player within the map, it's going to go into enter process. In the enter process, it's going to turn a switch on called reset events. The reason it does that is because once these events have been positioned, we need something to flag or to tell the game, hey, all of these need to be reset back to their initial, like their base form. So like the chest, or well, in our case, this one, and I'll explain that in a minute. but it needs to reset back to the first page and then use the event spawner to choose a new place to spawn to. So it turns reset events on. When reset events comes on, it starts the reset process for all events, and then reset process is basically it just turns all the self switches in that event off and takes it back to the first page. It re-enables menu access because you don't have access at the temple to go into the menu because you're just a spirit. That would be weird. Changes the battle music to battle 2. I'm not sure why I had that set in there. Probably because I just didn't change it in system and I figured I'd add it there while I was in the event screen. Actually, I remember why that's in there, because when we fight the boss at the red teleporter, it changes the battle music to the boss music. That's why we change it back. It's going to add a variable, or add 1 to the variable level number, and level number is going to influence a lot of things like the loot that's available there, the enemies that are available to fight there, the opportunity to run into challenge rooms or puzzle rooms, stuff like that. You can use what level you're on to influence a lot of things. Right now, the biggest thing that level number influences is how strong. If you look in each enemy troop, it runs a common event at the beginning of the match called Adjust Enemy Stats. And Adjust Enemy Stats uses level number to determine how strong the enemy should be. So back to our enter process, it's going to remove the key item that you used to get out of the last floor. Obviously, you need to do that because you're going to have to find a new one. And then let's see, reset chest actually needs to be up here. And then it's going to turn self switch A on, which, you know, for the enter process would just be a blank page. I guess since Twitch crapped the bed, we'll just continue on here on the recording side, and I'll just keep showing you all how this works. We've gone through what happens when you choose a character. It chooses a random map at a random spawn location and starts the enter process. So when you enter, each one of these events is going to run the event spawner to common event. And here's where it gets a little bit complicated. Actually, I don't even need this variable here anymore, but you'll see several labels. I'll explain those labels as I get to them. But initially, it's going to set initial X and Y values to 0, 0. And the reason that it's going to do that is because it's going to start scanning tile by tile, starting at 0, 0. Basically, it's going to check every X tile that is 100 or under to see if that tile is spawnable. When it checks if it's spawnable, it's going to jump right here. It's going to get the location info of the tile that it is currently scanning. Specifically, it's going to get its region ID. The reason it's going to get its region ID is because that's something that's very easy to map out over top your existing map. And if it is 5, it knows it can spawn an event there. If it is not 5, which I labeled a bunch of these ones before I realized I didn't even need to do that. If it's not 5, it will not spawn an event there. So you can see it gets the region ID of the current tile it's on. If the tile's region is not 5, it goes back up here to get tile coordinates. It adds 1 to X and it checks it again, and so on and so forth. So the initial row it checks is 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0. So it'll start here and then just go, let me go to the event. It starts here and then just goes, checks this one. If it's not spawnable, goes over, checks this one. If it's not spawnable, goes over, checks this one. And when it gets to the end of X, which is something that I need to kind of look at doing in the future, maybe getting the X and like the total X and Y of each map so that it's not wasting time scanning stuff. But when it gets to 100X, which in this case is going to be all the way over here, then it's going to set X back to 0 and it's going to start at 1Y. So it's going to check 0, 1, then 1, 1, then 2, 1, and 3, 1, and so forth. So basically it scans row by row by row by row until it finds an event that is spawnable. That's what this whole section is for check X and check Y. It's basically just checking tile by tile to see what is spawnable, or if a tile is spawnable. If a tile is spawnable, so ignore this one, because if it's not spawnable, it checks the next tile. So if a tile is spawnable, it's going to start this spawn events section. We actually don't even need this. The if events spawned is less than or equal to max events. We don't really need that. So I'll remove that and when I rework it a little bit. but it's going to roll for spawn. It's going to choose a number between 0 and 1000. We could probably lower this a little bit, but I wanted to make it 1000 so that it seems random enough that everything won't spawn at the top, right? This is like less than a 1% chance that it'll spawn, right? Whereas if we made it like 1 in 5, the top tiles that it gets to are going to have a 25% chance. You know, it seems like they would spawn further up. So I wanted to make this number as high as possible, but not so high that it bogs the system down or the game down. So it's going to roll a number between 0 and 1000. If that number is 1, then it is going to get the location info of that tile to see if there is an event on it already. That way the events cannot spawn on top of each other. If it's already gone through this process for one event, let's say it has scanned through all these, it gets to this tile, it decides that this tile is spawnable and it moves this chest here. It's checking for this one and it gets here. If that chest is already here, it will not spawn on top of it because there's already a chest there. That's what this section is for. So if there's an event on here, that's why it's set to if the event ID is not 0, because if the event ID is not 0, that means there's an event on it. Then it's going to go up to get tile coordinates. It's going to move to the next tile. That's going to run the same process again. If there is not an event already there, it's going to set the location of the event that is running this to that tile. So it has now decided this tile can be spawned on, and we have decided to spawn on this tile. And so it's going to move that event to that tile and turn its self switch A on, which is the actual event. So whether it's a chest process or an enemy process, that's what self switch A is what the event is actually supposed to be. Then it's going to fade in the screen because we want all of this to happen when the player's not looking at it, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of pop in. And that's actually one of the issues that I have currently, is there's a little bit of pop in. And then we just wanted to exit this completely. So if it rolls for spawn to see if it's spawnable between 0 and 1000 and the number is not 1, it's basically just going to go back up to get tile coordinates, and it's going to go to the next tile and check again. Long story short, it goes tile by tile to see if it's spawnable. If it is spawnable, it rolls the dice to see if it wants to spawn an event there. If there's already another event there, it decides we can't spawn an event here because there's already something here. Go back up, go to the next tile, and run the whole thing again. If there is no event there, and we have decided that we're going to spawn an event here, it's going to take this event and it's going to move it there. And that's pretty much it. That's how it works. Now, there are a few bugs that I'm going to go over real quick. I actually have written down in my notebook here. These are all bugs that you're going to see me start addressing in some of these dev diaries that I work on for this. This video, I just wanted to show you all the process. This is essentially just a proof of concept, like it does work. Now, it may get a little iffy depending on how many events you add, because the system is like, the game is calculating so many things that it might get bogged down. We'll address that in the future when we come to it. But this is essentially just me showing you a proof of concept. Hey, this is what I want to make. I've proven that this can be a thing. This can work. There's a few bugs I got to work out, but for the most part, it does work. And this will be the project that we probably focus on going forward. I haven't forgot about Synapse Fade. Still want to work on that, but this right now is something that has really grabbed my interest. I had a lot of fun making this. It was easily the most complicated thing I've had to make, but it is working. To see it working is just like this amazing dopamine hit. I love that. So here are the bugs that I currently have. Pop in for event spawns. And that's because it's running so many calculations that sometimes it takes time to decide where everything's going to spawn, if everything's going to spawn on a certain tile. Like, it has to run this for each event. So there are times, I've mostly fixed the pop in, but there are times where you spawn in, you'll see a treasure chest in front of you, an opened one. And when it runs the recess process, you'll see it when you spawn in, and then it'll just teleport away because it's taking a while for the event spawner to actually get it moved. So another bug is, I believe that right now the player can technically spawn on an event, which is not good. That's an easy fix, I'm pretty sure. But when you go to choose random map location, and I have it set to Stone Cave, this particular position, a chest can actually spawn here. This is a spawnable tile. So the player can actually spawn on this. how I want to rework this is, first of all, I want to make the player spawn truly random. This is not truly random. This is just choosing from a random, like choosing from a set of 5 locations, right? It's just picking one of these 5 locations. I want to make the player spawn truly random, which is also going to take up a bit like more memory. So we're going to kind of see how things go. We may end up not doing that, but we'll see. All we really need to do to prevent that from happening is put something along these lines to check to see if there's an event there. And if there is, then it'll just choose another spawn location for the player. The next bug, I actually don't know if this is a bug anymore. I guess technically it is still possible, but statistically it is very, like, incredibly, nearly impossibly improbable. And that is events spawning on top of each other. So we have this here. This is supposed to prevent events from spawning on top of each other. But if 2 events roll the exact same thing, so if 2 different events go here, right? Let's say that it chooses this tile. If 2 events choose that tile, both get a 1 out of 1,000 chance to roll for spawn there, they could technically both spawn there at the same time. Right? And this doesn't apply because they both spawned at the same time. Statistically, very improbable, but I think it is still possible. So I don't know if we would add like a randomized weight in there or something to throw it off. But anything we add, I feel like would be just making that statistic smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know if there's actually a way to get rid of it when you're doing it this way through eventing. We kind of went over it in the playtest, but the red orb chest does not reset. I think I know why. That's a pretty easy one to fix, but it is a bug currently. The last bug that I have addressed with this map, but need to go back and fix with these, is, first of all, I need to get rid of all the ones. There's no reason for the ones to be there. But if you get a bad roll of the dice, a chest could spawn here, here, and here. And if 3 chests spawn here and your teleporter's back here, you will be blocked in. You cannot access the teleporter. As you can see in this one, I've pretty much fixed that. You have a path everywhere around the map. You cannot get blocked in. So that is also a bug on certain maps, which is an easy fix for the most part. And that is pretty much it for this episode. I kind of want to just show off the project for the time being, and then in subsequent dev diaries, which I'm going to be streaming from my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/RunTheMC. Feel free to stop by. We're going to go through, we're going to start fixing bugs. We're going to add floors. We're going to add skills, add characters, add mechanics. We're going to just start adding things one by one now that the base is fixed. There's a few bugs we got to fix first before we start massively expanding it, but most of that stuff seems pretty easy to deal with. And then we'll be on our way to hopefully making a full-fledged roguelike RPG. There's also a lot of polish that I need to do. So for instance, when you look at skills, you know, I want to, or maybe not skills, maybe weapons. I want to change, like, you know, the fire text here to red, add a fire icon, stuff like that. There's a lot of nice little like flavor text touches that I'd like to make. There's a lot more equipment that we got to make. I got to figure out how we want to dole out equipment. Should they be a separate chest? How is it going to roll for that? Are you going to be able to buy buffs where you can get those chests to spawn more often? How's that going to work? There's a lot of thought that is going to go into something like this. If you hang out in the Twitch channel regularly, don't be surprised if I play a little bit of Risk of Rain, Dead Cells, even something like Vampire Survivors, just to get some inspiration on mostly progression and how they handle progression, how they handle things like, you know, special rooms, which would be like our challenge rooms or our puzzle rooms, stuff like that. I have a lot of ideas in mind for puzzle rooms. So it would be something like our boulder puzzle or something like our ice puzzle. Like, we've already made a bunch of puzzles for the YouTube channel specifically that we could draw from. And there's a lot of other ones that we could also make. So going forward, not only would those videos maybe help someone else design a puzzle, they would also be a good learning ground, I guess, for me, a good way to learn how to make these puzzles, which it kind of has been anyways, but it's now something that I can put in this project. In regards to other projects, Synapse Fade is not going anywhere. Probably what I'm going to be doing mostly with that is a lot of world building in my tiny brain and trying to figure out exactly what I want that game to be and what direction I want to go in. I have a general thought about it in my head. I just haven't decided a lot of the finer details. The Creative Mechanics series, the next one that we're going to do is HM Flash. I have a pretty good idea on how to do this with Show Picture. I want to say I've seen people do similar things with lighting in their games, specifically with what I have in mind with Show Picture. We'll kind of see how that works out. Well, I'm just going to learn how to do it on the fly. I actually think that for me, those are the most fun creative mechanic videos when I'm learning how to do it on the fly. I'm kind of just learning with you all. Now you see the cut and edited version, but most of that stuff I'm just learning as I go, which I think is a lot of fun. We've still got surf and fly. Fly is the big one. I have done so much theory crafting on fly, and it just continues to be the most difficult one to come up with a cohesive and easy way to do it. That is the big thing for me, is the ease of use. As of right now, first of all, I'm glowing because it just got so bright outside. As of right now, I don't have an incredibly easy way to make fly work. I know how I could make it work, but there would be so many conditional branches, so many, that the way that I have it crafted in my thoughts right now, I don't like that. So I'm going to continue to think on that some more. That's probably going to be the last one we do. Surf, I think, will be pretty easy as well. But thank you all so much for watching. I'm sorry that I'm just glowing in the camera here because it's so bright outside. But I'm glad I got to explain this and sort of show this off. I hope you look forward to seeing more of this particular game on the channel. I'm looking forward to making more of it. And until next time, thanks for stopping by.